I see a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in basically trading time for dollars. And that's the mistake that I see. And honestly, in the beginning, I did that too. But what I realized, it's really not about the number of hours, it's really about the transformation that we're providing to our clients. And so making sure that you're pricing your services based on that. What is the transformation? How are you serving your clients? What is the transformation that they're going to get from working with you?
Welcome to the show, Pamela. It's great to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to chatting about money mindset and prosperity and abundance and all the fabulous things that we've already been talking about off air. I'd love to start off with you sharing, how did you wind up or end up doing what you're doing? Because I believe you've got a background in financial planning.
I do, yes, and it's wonderful, first of all, Samantha, to be here. I'm so excited to have this conversation about my favorite topic, women and money. And my story actually goes back like over 30 years ago, and it starts with my divorce. I actually, when my son Frank was only 2 years old, my ex-husband and I decided to separate and then ultimately divorce. And it was a very scary time for me, although I had just taken on an entry-level position in banking and finance. But I did not really know about how to build wealth. And I I knew how to save, but that's about it. I didn't know about building wealth. And so it was very scary for me. And I never planned on being the sole provider for my son and myself. And so my plan was practical plan was just to work really, really hard and hopefully I would get promoted and then I'd be able to spend more time with my son. And that's not what happened.
I
Yes,
was gonna
it was not. Yes, I got promoted. Yes, I climbed the corporate ladder, but at the expense of actually less time with my son.
Hmm.
And so fast forward, some years into my career, I really felt burnt out. I not only from years of overwork, not feeling physically exhausted, but mentally as well as emotionally exhausted from just the strain of working all of those hours. And so I really had to take a step back and ask myself, what was it that I truly wanted beyond banking and finance? And to look at how I was living my life and managing my finances in ways that no longer served me. And I know where that work ethic came from. The work ethic came from my military dad, his career
Hmm.
man. And that was his reality, that he had to work really, really hard in order to excel and get promoted in the military. And so I absorbed that work ethic. But after seeing how he actually passed away young from medical issues that were related to stress, I realized that there was another way. And so I really did take a step back. And the first thing I asked myself again, what was it that I wanted beyond banking? And I also had to change some of the beliefs that I had. And one of the things, that real big issue that I did need to change, was to practice forgiveness. Now, my ex-husband was a good man. Unfortunately, our marriage just didn't work. And I had to forgive him, for his part in, creating a successful marriage. And then I also needed to forgive myself because honestly, I felt like a failure
Mm.
because I was divorced with this young child. And so I realized, in order to get unstuck and to be able to move that energy forward, I had to practice forgiveness. I also needed to look at the beliefs that were holding me back. The one belief, the big one that I mentioned earlier, was the fact that I had to work really, really, really hard in order to get ahead. And I realized that there has to be a better way. And so what I did was I stepped into more education, became a certified financial planner practitioner, and then later on, certified money coach. And I realized that I really wanted to start my own business and to be able to work with women like me, maybe who had not gone through a divorce, but there was a catalyst in their life that propelled them on the journey that they're on today. And I truly believe that, my divorce from my husband did propel me onto this journey. And so, I decided to start my own practice, and today I have a thriving practice working with clients that I love and doing the work that I feel that I'm called to do, not only with the financial freedom that I desire, but also the ability with the time freedom to be able to do things that I enjoy doing with family and friends, and to be able to make an impact in the world as contribute to the causes that I'm passionate about. And I want to
Mm.
mention, as a side note, my son Frank, who is a man now. He is an awesome man. He's the light of my life. And as a bonus, I have a beautiful daughter-in-law as well.
Mm. I love that. I love it so much. Money, I think, has a really strange reaction in some people. That it can excite some people when they think about, well, I'm earning this money and it gives me the freedom to do what I want. But it can also put a lot of fear, anxiety, a really negative kind of emotions in people's bodies. How would you talked a bit about the beliefs, because really this is like an inside job to begin with. For people that are wanting to increase their income and bring more money in, but have these feelings around money that are negative, how do you start working with people? Like what's the foundational work to shift those feelings?
Absolutely. And I want to share, first of all, that there are three aspects. I believe there are three aspects of money, or three pillars of money that we need to address in order to have a good relationship with money. And that's the
Mhm.
spiritual, the emotional, as well as the practical. And what I do is I teach my clients how to merge the three so that they have an empowered relationship with money. And then the other thing is, what we don't realize is that our money beliefs are imprinted upon us as children. Sometimes they're generational, but usually from the perspective of whoever were our primary caregivers. Usually it's your parents, but whoever were your primary caregivers, those beliefs that the beliefs that they had about money show up. They imprint upon you as a child. It's about, what did you hear growing up? Did your parents fight about money? Was there a feeling of lack or a feeling of abundance in your household? So all of those things, all of those emotions and feelings actually show up in your adulthood and how you manage your money, not only on a personal level, but also when it comes to your business. And so when I work with clients, the first thing that we need to understand is, what is their current relationship with money? What are the beliefs that are showing up that need to be shifted in order to make that outer wealth appear? Because when we look at, when I do work with clients, it's all about, I'm on a mission to empower women to confidently build wealth from the inside out. And I also believe that our inner or outer wealth will always be a reflection of our inner wealth. So we need to address the current relationship with money. What are your beliefs? And how are those beliefs showing up in your life today? And are they currently serving you?
So if they're not, and the inner wealth isn't matching the desire for the outer wealth, like really, how do you work about shifting those beliefs?
The way that I help them shift those beliefs is, first of all, identifying what they are. And then we look at where those beliefs originated from. One of the beginning fundamental exercises that I take clients through is their money bio. And so I ask them, what was your first memory of money? And then we keep going age, by age up through adulthood and where they are now. And what were the beliefs of those memories that showed up? What was the situation? How did it make you feel? And, what were the beliefs that were showing up? So, money bio is a great start. Then we look at who did you inherit those beliefs from? Because typically we kind of mirror, one of our parents. And so if you had one parent that was, and there's actually 8 money archetypes, and so we look at what are those 8 money archetypes, how are they showing up, where did they come from? And so you typically, when you mirror one of your parents, we identify what were those beliefs that you have now that mirrored that particular parent. And if they're not serving you, again, we look at how to shift them. And so once we've identified them, where they came from, then it's time to look at where is it that you want to be. So if you have fear or anxiety around money or around building a successful business, then what is the opposite of that? What do you want to be? You want to be confident, confident in your financial decisions. You want to build a business with ease. And then we look at what are 3 small but significant steps that they can take in each of the 3 categories, the spiritual, the emotional, and the practical, to shift from the anxiety and fear to feeling confident.
Love it. Obviously, as coaches, as consultants, as professional service providers, pricing is a big topic because it's easy when you're selling a pen, you know exactly what it is and you know how much it is. But when we get to pricing for a service, it's so murky. What's inexpensive for one is really expensive for another. For people that want to put up their pricing, what can you speak to that? Like coming up with a price in the first place and then increasing prices.
Sure. And I think the first step to that is really identifying who is it that you want to serve.
Mm,
Clear on who is your ideal client, because not everyone is your
mm.
client. And then once you get clear on that, and I'm a fan of really diving deep into not only the demographics of your client but also the psychographics.
Oh,
What does that
100%.
client look like? And then how is it that you want to serve them? And I see a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in basically trading time for dollars. And that's the mistake that I see. And honestly, in the beginning, I did that too.
Mm-hmm,
But what
mm-hmm.
I realized, it's really not about the number of hours, it's really about the transformation that we're providing to our clients. And so making sure that you're pricing your services based on that. What is the transformation? How are you serving your clients? What is the transformation that they're going to get from working with you? And
Mm,
I believe that is the best way to look at how to increase your prices. Because a lot of time, if we keep our prices low, we're not going to attract the type of clients that we want. And we have to keep that in mind. And I'm going to share a quick story. This was a couple years ago, and a lady came to me and she really wanted to shift her money mindset. At least that's what she said. And I told her, okay, this is how I work with clients. And she thought that it was okay to negotiate prices or even my price or even
Uh-huh.
barter. And I said, no, I said, I don't barter. And again, your investment is based on the transformation, that you're going to get. And it is a proven transformation, so the price is what it is, And so unfortunately, and fortunately, because I think it probably would not have been a good fit anyway if we did work together. But I gave her some other resources, to help her get started. And that's okay to do as well. For example, I gave her, a book, a couple of books, including mine. Start here, and then when you're ready, I'm happy to have another conversation. So keeping that in mind. It's okay. Not everyone is your client, but you have to get clear on who is it that you want to serve.
Mm. I love what you talked about then, because that's around boundaries. And I
Yeah.
think that as you were saying that, I was thinking back to someone that I spoke to at the end of last year. I can remember exactly when it was. And we'd had this conversation and, we're talking about what he wants his business to look like. And he's like, the most important thing is that I want people to value me and pay me what I'm worth. I'm like, that's great. Anyway, we got to the point. He's like, "Yeah, I want to work with you." And I said my pricing, and he did the same thing. He's like, "Well, how about we do it for this much?" No. And what was happening was his words and the way that he was acting was so out of alignment with what he was saying that he wanted. And I guess from, putting that together with what you were talking about before, that's the belief system that's coming in. I'm sure he didn't even realize that what he was saying and what he was doing were two completely things that were not in alignment. And I think that's why it's just so important to be very aware about that way that you're outwardly acting and how it's not in alignment with what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also think that's an awesome example, and I've encountered that numerous times as well. I think that also it's important to envision your future. How do you see your business 5 years from now? And vision is so important. That's also one of the things that I work with clients on. Create your big grand vision. How do you want your life to look, not just financially, but all of the areas of your life, because money touches every area of your life. And definitely, what do you want your business to look like, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And it's so key. It's part of my morning routine that I do to get myself grounded and centered for the day. I have my vision written out. It's actually typed out, and I read it every morning. And so it really helps me to stay focused and knowing where I'm going, because it's like my compass. It's my compass. And so when things tend to show up, and they will throughout the day, whether it's people or situations, it helps you to stay grounded, and it helps you to stay focused on moving forward.
Love that so much. We've talked a little bit about increasing pricing. What about from moving on from there, or making sure that you're not just bringing in the wealth, or bringing in the income, but you're creating wealth? Because I think that there's plenty of people also that make a lot of money, but it slips through their fingers just as easily. And I think that's the practical piece coming in, right? Although, as
Absolutely.
I'm saying that, I'm guessing there's a spiritual piece in there as well, an emotional piece. Like, it's funny, I caught myself out then. What are some of the things that we need to have in place or that we could have in place to make sure that we're like not just holding that, but creating more wealth, having our money work for us?
Absolutely. And I actually, there are five pillars. So if I can quickly share five pillars to entrepreneurial wealth. And the first pillar is to make money. Okay. Again, we're in business because we want to make money. Otherwise, we would be working or have a nonprofit, right? So it's okay to make money. And making money is the cornerstone of a successful business. So when we talked about going, our pricing and the type of clients that we work with, making sure that we are profitable, creating a profitable business. And then the second pillar is to spend less. And you know what? Let me back up just a bit. With making money, one big step that's part of that is creating goals, creating clear financial goals. And also part of that is knowing your numbers. A lot of entrepreneurs don't know their numbers or they don't want to look at their numbers. And it's so important that we do know what our numbers are, what money is coming in, what money is going out, so that we can make sure that we are building a profitable business. And so the next step is to spend less. So now that we know we have our income goals, we know how much we want to make, we're bringing in money, where is it that we could maybe streamline or scale our expenses to generate more revenue? Because there's only two ways to generate revenue, right? Keep bringing in more clients, or another way that most entrepreneurs don't think about is maybe spending less. And spending doesn't mean, sacrificing quality or cutting corners. It's really about being smart with your resources. And so, one step that an entrepreneur can take in this area is to review their expenses and look for areas where you can actually cut back without impacting the quality of your services. And one of the things that I talk with my clients about is creating a list of all of your back end expenses
Mm-hmm.
and looking at that, and at least once a year, making sure that you review it to see if those expenses still apply or that service still applies. Because how many of us have signed up for an online course maybe or a membership that we are not using? So looking
Mm.
at, once a year, looking at those expenses and see where you could cut back.
I just want to jump in there for 2 seconds. For
Sure.
anyone that's in Australia, I find that when I do my reconciliation for my quarterly BAS, this is the best time as I'm going through all of my software at the back end. It's a great checkpoint to go, oh, not using that, and I go and cancel it immediately. So that's a tip for the Aussies that are doing their numbers quarterly.
Wonderful. And then the third pillar of entrepreneurial wealth is to reduce debt. And debt actually can be a very useful tool for growth if it's managed properly, but it can also be a heavy burden. So, understanding the difference between good and bad debt is essential. And basically, good debt is an investment that's going to generate returns. So, such as maybe a loan to expand your business. In contrast, bad debt, on the other hand, drains your resources without providing any benefits. And an example of that might be increasing your consumer debt, like maybe putting expenses on a credit card that you're not
Hmm.
able to pay off in the same month. And so, understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. And then,
Mm.
if you do have debt, you want to create a debt repayment plan that prioritizes your high interest rate debt first. And you also might want to consider consolidating debts and to lower the interest rate as well as to simplify your payments. And another tip is to always make sure that you're keeping your credit utilization low to maintain good, strong credit.
Mm,
And then the fourth pillar is to save more. Now we made money, we're reducing our debt. So now we're freeing up that in more of the income to save more. And so saving is not just about putting money aside. It's really about creating that safety net that provides peace of mind as well as financial stability. And it's important, not only in our personal lives, obviously, to set aside money for our reserve, the emergency fund, but even in our businesses, because you mentioned the quarterlies, the estimated taxes and other expenses that come up that may not be monthly, but they're recurring periodically. It's a good idea to set aside money for those expenses. And so, one tip is to start small if necessary, but be consistent. That's the key. So, setting up automatic transfers to your savings account can ensure that you're always putting something aside. And
mm,
it's important to evaluate those goals, savings goals regularly and adjust them as your situation evolves. And then the last pillar, the fifth pillar to entrepreneurial wealth is to create your wealth plan. Now, the thing is, a lot of entrepreneurs may not understand the difference between savings and investing. They both
mm-hmm.
have a place in your plan, but savings is really about, setting aside money that's going to be earmarked for something in particular or if an emergency comes up. Creating your wealth plan through investing is about building wealth. And so investing is the key to building long-term wealth and ensuring your financial future. And investing can seem daunting, but with the right knowledge and strategies, it can be a powerful tool for achieving financial independence. And so the first thing is to understand, one tip is to begin by understanding and educating yourself and understanding the various investment options that are available. And again, it's okay to start with small manageable investments and gradually build over time. And if it still feels daunting to you, then you probably want to consult with a financial advisor or a financial planner, especially if you need a more customized approach to your situation to create a plan that aligns not only with your goals, but also with your risk tolerance.
Mm, awesome advice. Now, I know that you've got a workbook that helps people to work through some of these foundational principles that you've talked about today. Can you share a little bit about what's in the workbook?
Sure, the CEO Money Mindset Workbook. It's a workbook that kind of builds upon what we talked about today, and it gives you some tools and tips and action steps that you can take to begin to not only step into your CEO money mindset, but also to begin the process of creating money mastery. And that's the key. We want to make sure that we are mastering our money, and the money mindset is one piece of that.
I love that so much. So we'll pop the link for that in the show notes below, wherever you're listening. Definitely go and get that because I think that being able to master that will make a huge difference, not just in what you see coming into your business, But from what I've noticed when I work with people is that when they're confident, when they're making more money, when they're feeling confident with their finances, it increases their confidence. And it's just like this upward spiral. The more confident they are, the more money comes in. So definitely get hold of that workbook. Pamela, you've spoken about quite a lot today. What is one thing that you really want to leave our listeners about mastering their wealth?
I think one important thing is to, and I'm going to give you two if that's okay. The first
Yeah.
is to understand your current relationship with money. That's key because we can't visualize where we're going if we don't understand where we are. And then once we've understood that, then make time for, or prioritize rather, financial education because that's key. And whether you're working with or looking to seek out a mentor or a trusted advisor, I think it's so important to get that education, get that accountability, because there's so much available now, to help you get to where you want to be in a shorter time than maybe when we started out, like for me 30 years ago, and for you I think it was around 26 years ago or somewhere around there, but now there's so many opportunities to cut down on the time that it takes to get from where you are to where you want to be. You just need to get the right support.
So well said. Pamela, thank you so much for coming and sharing your passion with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Samantha.